Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this public planning meeting. I think we'll begin by acknowledging that we do have quorum and inviting Councillor Greenfield to read our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon. We would like to begin by acknowledging, with respect, that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis, whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis peoples and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend to these waters.
Now, I'll just ask you to observe a moment of silent reflection with me. Thank you very much. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, just a reminder that you can bring it forward if it occurs to you. And I want to say that we're holding this meeting to learn about a proposal to amend the land use planning permissions applying to certain lands in the municipality of Meaford. Council is legally required to make decisions that conform to the county and local official plans. Our policies encourage us to reach out to community stakeholders to gather information. We have a variety of legal tools available to us that we can apply to development to help us manage change in a positive manner with as minimal an impact as possible, and your insights can be part of what informs our direction. Those in attendance for today's meeting will have an opportunity to speak in person or remotely if pre-registered through Zoom. This meeting is not structured as a dialogue between speakers and the applicant. However, the applicant may take the opportunity to respond to comments toward the end of the meeting if they wish. Note that in many cases, formulating responses may require that staff carry out research after the meeting on the matters raised and provide answers following the meeting or through their report to council. So I'm now going to call today's public meeting to order. It's a public meeting to consider a red line revision to draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment for lands at Equality Drive in Meaford. This meeting is a mandatory part of the planning process, which has been set out by the Planning Act. Based on the rules of the Act, there must be at least 20 days' notice given to residents within 120 meters of the property. Notice of the zoning bylaw amendment was issued on March 25th, 2025, giving the required 20 days' notice. So let's get started. And first, I will ask Scott Taylor, Director of Planning and Development at the County of Grey, and Helena Fascinato, Planner at the Municipality of Meaford, to give us a brief presentation about this application and to provide us with any public and agency comments that we have received to date. Scott and Helena, welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor Kentner and members of the Municipality of Meaford Council. It's nice to see you all in person here on this evening, and I've been told in the past that I can be fairly long-winded, so I'll try to keep it somewhat brief tonight. But what we're going to do, Helena and I are going to take you through a presentation with respect to the two applications that the Mayor has just spoken about, the red line revision to the draft plan of subdivision and the zoning bylaw amendment. And we tend to use a lot of planning lingo here, so for those that might not be familiar, a red line revision is essentially a small change to an existing draft approved plan of subdivision. Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm thankful we have technical people here because that is certainly not me. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have the two applications here today. We are going to do a brief presentation between county and municipal staff in this regard. We're going to have an opportunity to hear from a representative on behalf of the applicant. And as the mayor noted, we've got a forum here tonight to hear comments. There's no decision being made here tonight, but really the purpose of the evening is to provide some information about the development and to hear comments from anybody that chooses to offer their comments tonight or at a later date via an in-writing method. So I think most people are familiar with the subject lands, but these are the lands in question. They are on the west end of Meaford, north of Highway 26 in this regard. I should note that the property you see outlined in hatching there was the boundaries of the original plan of subdivision. The specific changes to this plan of subdivision that we're going to see in just a minute here and the area that's being rezoned is actually just towards the north end of this subdivision. This subdivision has been draft approved for a few years now, and the first phase is actually already registered and under construction. So we'll just move on here. And so in terms of what the proposal is here today, with respect to the changes to the draft plan of subdivision, they're looking to change 23 of the existing proposed single detached lots and convert them into 36 townhouse lots in this regard. And just as a bit of a history on this development was originally draft approved in 2021. At the time, the draft approval was for a total of 201 residential units in that regard, which included a mix of single detached units as well as some multi-attached units, some townhouses in that regard. As I noted earlier, phase one has already been registered and that phase is under construction with a total of 97 units. And again, just getting into a bit of the planning lingo here, with respect to a draft plan of subdivision, we have a few different phases. There's the phase where the proponent initially submits the application, and that's where groups like the municipality of Meaford, the county of Grey, other agencies like the school boards or the conservation authority are all reviewing the application, providing their feedback and comments, and the public are providing their comments, and the developer might make changes to their application. Once that initial sort of stage is done, it moves to what we call the draft approval stage. And that's where council, in this case at the county level, is draft approving the plan of subdivision to say that we know roughly where the boundaries are going to be on each of these lots. We know that the shape of the development, we know how it's going to look and act, so to speak. But there's still a number of technical details that need to be worked out. So a whole series of draft plan conditions that get attached to that draft approval. At the same time, in this particular development, there was also an official plan amendment passed by the municipality of Meaford and a zoning bylaw amendment to permit the development in question. Once we get into that draft approval stage, that's where the proponent is doing a lot of work to really ground truth some of those preliminary studies, doing detailed engineering. They might even start preparing works on site to really start to flesh out the development. And it's at that stage that they can also start pre-selling units in that regard. So sometimes what happens is we see that draft approval proceed and the proponent proceeds to register the development. And that's when construction actually starts and the lots actually get sold. Or sometimes we see that construction proceed in phases. And so in this case, they've registered phase one, which as I said was 97 units. And they're still got the rest of their development draft approved until February 2028. What they're proposing here tonight is some minor changes to the rest of the development that we're going to go through a little bit further here. So what you see on the proposed, oops, I think I went too far. So what you see on the proposed screen there is a revised draft plan of subdivision in this regard, and it's kind of tough to tell based on the scale of that. But if you look at the north end of development, as the mayor noted, on Equality Drive, on both the north and south side of Equality Drive, that's where there were supposed to be those 23 single detached lots. What they're proposing now is 36 townhouse units. So those lots haven't been constructed. The lands are vacant at this moment, other than the roads and the infrastructure. And so they are proposing to amend those residential units to 36 townhouse units. With that comes a reduction in the width of some of those units and some changes to the numbering of the existing lot fabric in that regard. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Helena to tell you a little bit more about the zoning amendment.
Thank you, Scott. So in order to facilitate the red line revision to the draft plan of subdivision, a zoning bylaw amendment is required. So currently on those lands to the north, only single detached homes are permitted. So they're in that B zoning. So they're looking to extend to allow single detached, semi-detached, and townhomes, which is what the lands to the south are zoned for that A zoning. And there's no changes proposed to the open space or the environmental protection areas. So we are at the public meeting stage. This application was deemed complete on March 13th. Our Planning Act timelines mandate that we have 90 days to render a decision on the file. So we're looking to get some comments within the next month or so. And then here shows how to engage in our process. So you could subscribe online to the website or submit comments to Planning at Meaford and Planning at Gray, or make a request in writing to those emails as well. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, is the applicant present? Rob, are you the representative of the applicant? Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, Rob Armstrong from Travis Associates representing Loon Call or M1 Developments, the specific development related here in Meaford. I'll also note, in addition, we have from Loon Call, Suresh Singh and Angus Knowles on the call, as well as planner Bob List. So they're also on, if any questions come out outside the scope of what's being requested here today. Obviously, you've heard the initial presentation. I'll sort of skim through mine and just highlight some of the key components that we would like to present as the justification for requesting the amendment. Just to highlight, as it was said, it's to convert the 23 to 36 townhome lots. We have submitted a planning justification addendum to the original staff report from List Planning, as well as a servicing brief. Obviously, when we're increasing the units, we need to demonstrate how it's going to fit in with the current development and how it's serviced. Just a bit of approval history. The original application that was filed on this property was 237 units. So all the supporting information that came in with the application was for 237 with the potential for 241. Through the public consultation process, revisions were made to the development and thus it was reduced to 201 units. Just to highlight some of the changes that were made, all the lots that are on the east side of the development abutting Algonquin Drive were converted to large lot singles. There was an open space corridor added up the middle of the development to provide a pedestrian linkage outside the normal sidewalks in the development. And then also the lots backing onto Highway 26 were converted to semi-detached from the original townhomes. All those came through discussions with the public prior to finalization by council and approval. The subject area we were talking about, or that's before council for a revision, was reduced to single detached dwellings. It's really not adjacent to any development. It's sort of at the back, backing onto the stormwater management pond. That was done for two reasons. One, to reduce the overall density because of the concerns that were expressed, as well as taking advantage of the open space and prime lots that could back onto the open space. That was, this is on the approval history on zoning. I don't need to speak to that. It was noted that phase 1 has been registered. The majority, if not all, of the townhouse lots have received building permits, are on various phases of construction. And there are still a few other Loon Call lots left to be developed. The other lots you have seen undeveloped have been sold off to other developers who are developing the large lot singles or some of the semis. As a planner, we're supposed to put forward the planning policy as the rationale. Basically, there's been a few changes since the application was initially filed. We now have the 2024 provincial planning statement. Being a policy that promotes more homes, more choices, this proposal definitely is consistent with the provincial policy statements. The Grey County official plan, actually in the letter that was provided by the county, I guess they've updated their official plan to 25 units per hectare, which aligns with the county's official plan. With regard to both those, our development by increasing the number of units and modifying the singles to townhomes, we are now right on the 25 units per hectare. So we are bringing the development into compliance with the current approved official plan of Meaford and also the County of Grey official plan. As I noted, the request, the rationale for the request is that the townhomes are one of the most popular and most affordable form of housing that they're experiencing in this development. Phase 1 townhomes are all sold out, so they are looking to the next phase to have the townhomes. The area proposed for this revision is partially serviced. The road had to be extended to get access into the stormwater management block for maintenance purposes. So that phase is already partially serviced. So it makes sense for it to be the next phase to proceed. Just in conclusion, it's our opinion that it is consistent with provincial policies and complies with both the county and the local official plan. And it's particularly bringing it up to the 25 units per hectare, and therefore request council support the request.
Thank you very much. There have been 2 pre-registrations to speak in person at this meeting by members of the public. And first, joining us virtually is Catherine Haggard. Are you there, Catherine?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, speak up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name's Catherine Haggard, and I live within 120 meters of the development and received notice of the meeting. I'm also a founding member of Imagine Meaford. For some of the newer councillors, they may not know as much about Imagine Meaford, but we are a group of volunteers made up of permanent and part-time residents. We're concerned about development issues, and we wish to see Meaford thrive. We bring a lot of expertise from careers in land development, design, project management, IT, and government. In fact, it was this development, the Loon Call development, that led to the formation of Imagine Meaford back during COVID in the late wintertime 2021. We were late to learn about the proposed development, and in fact, we were 14 months late. The developer had tied up the land in August of 2019, and the development-related plans and studies had been submitted already to the planning department and an informal public meeting held during the pandemic. So by the time we learned about it from a friend who, by chance, come across a small sign posted close to the ground on Highway 26 when she went by for a jog, we got ourselves in action. We quickly organized, and with the help of a Toronto land developer and the expertise of an award-winning architect who's done a lot of work in Collingwood, began to work with Meaford's CEO at the time, Mr. Armstrong, to see if the plan could be improved. It was never Imagine Meaford's intent to oppose the development, but we wanted to ensure compatibility in terms of this development's built form, to ensure character, size, and massing of adjacent buildings with the adjacent neighborhood, and to ensure protection of the EP lands and the creek that goes into Georgian Bay right behind the site. Working with town staff and Loon Call's planning team, we did create that significant buffer of single detached homes that are along the large lots on Algonquin, and we also advocated for the smaller single lots that we are now considering in this redlined version. Those are the ones that are up against the EP zone and against Centerville Creek. This, I understand, is the portion that we will be discussing for rezoning a second time. The plan that we negotiated in 2021 was supported by municipal staff, and the staff report was accepted and passed, the zoning passed unanimously. I remember the mayor announced how pleased council was that the matter had been successfully negotiated with local residents, and an appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal was avoided. So we are concerned the developer wishes to reopen this zoning bylaw. The request for the change comes, one can assume, because the economic climate has also changed and housing sales have slowed down. The demand for these smaller units, the townhouses, is greater than larger units, the singles, understandably. They're less expensive for purchasers. The applicant has argued that building townhomes is providing housing units more people can afford. However, we're not really talking about affordability as a defined term. There's no evidence to show these townhomes are affordable by the provincial definition. And the word attainable, I would remind you, is a marketing term. Good planning should not be overridden by economics. Council has no obligation to help support the economic success of a developer. Building and marketing a townhouse versus a single may turn out to be more profitable for the developer, but that's not a reason for council to undo its earlier decision on the zoning. Sound planning principles articulated by Meaford staff in 2021 formed the basis of the first set of planning approvals, and it did ensure a desirable mix of housing forms within this large development. This was a careful mix of towns, singles, and semis, and we believe it should be maintained. I note the cost of servicing has been raised, and yes, this northern portion has been serviced. I had a look at it on the weekend. The applicant advises the land in this red line section went under servicing as part of the earlier construction, so it's been paid for. The developer now appears to wish to spread the costs of that infrastructure over more units. While cost averaging again may increase profit, it shouldn't sway council's decision. I take issue with the request for the zoning to be changed from the current residential 4285B to residential 4285A. If you allow the 4A, then you essentially undo all of the work, turn the singles entirely into townhomes, and this flies in the face of the earlier agreement the developer made with this community. It would be a great shame to undo the earlier work the municipal planners, the developers, and the residents came together to create. And it certainly undermines the trust of residents who undertook the negotiations in good faith. I finally note that information was fairly limited in terms of its availability to the public to allow us to assess this application. It was just last Tuesday, April 8th, that I requested and received a copy of the approved draft plan of subdivision, the one passed in 2021, to show the layout of the site and identify which types of units can be built where on this site. That document hadn't been uploaded to Meaford's website due to an oversight. And so the public, in going to the Meaford Municipal website, the development section, couldn't really find those studies. We also don't have any updated servicing studies to indicate whether adding additional units will place additional stress on the stormwater management or will change the permeability of soil in these areas. The larger lots certainly provide more green area and would absorb an awful lot more rainwater. This has been an ongoing problem with the Algonquin residents who are taking a lot of water from the development that abuts it. So I would say that all residents are concerned about managing the development. We care about the community, and we really wish the council will reconsider this development in its historical negotiated context. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. The next person joining us is in person, Reed Barrett.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Mayor Kentner, Meaford councilors and staff for allowing me to address this bylaw amendment. Let me start. I think we've heard a little bit of background from the first deputation that Loon Call for me is a very important development within the community. It's what I'd call the flagship. It's kind of the gateway to the whole Meaford community. As you come in from the west side, that's one of the very first communities you see. Considerable efforts, we heard, went into the original plans for Loon Call from the developer, the municipality, the county, and all the engaged residents. And Catherine referenced this in her presentation that it really was the start of Imagine Meaford. It was unanimously accepted, and it was applauded by the mayor at the time and council as an example of good planning. We all came together and left, I think, with a better product. The first approval considered the density and it encouraged additional green space. It allowed for a park, walkways. It considered street parking, traffic, where school buses would turn around, even snow removal. The requested change today before us, I wouldn't consider a small change or a revision. I would encourage us to think twice before we make the changes. The original approved plan provided for 203 units. I understand phase 1 accounts for 97, and this would be phase 2, moving from 23 to 36. But obviously there must be a phase 3, which we haven't really heard the details to. So that's one of my first questions. The other issue, I guess, is the reduction in single lot homes and the increase in townhomes would substantially increase the number of driveways and volume of hardscape. And that affects the delicate stormwater course into Centerville Creek and along Algonquin Drive, which my property backs onto Algonquin, so it is concerning, before it reaches the bay. The detention ponds I've seen, I've walked around. We don't know whether they're functioning for the pre-plan or if it's going to be at the same volume and capable to handle the increased storm water. We don't know how they're maintained, and maybe we need some information on that. Additionally, I think council would be parting with an extremely valuable asset, which is wastewater capacity for the residential townhouse additional units. And any granting of wastewater capacity when it's in tight supply could potentially limit the attraction of new business to Meaford. So I just say in closing that I would suggest we might want a little bit more information regarding phase 3, the wastewater, stormwater, and consider the wastewater capacity that we would be foregoing. But thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak who did not pre-register? I see no one else in the gallery, so we'll move on here and go to the horseshoe and ask members of council for any questions you have. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just thought I would ask while we have everyone present, if we could get a response to the question of a phase 3.
Now, I think the proponent is willing to, or his representative is willing to speak, if you don't mind, Mr. Armstrong.
Yeah, through your worship. So there's, as we've noted, there is 201 draft approved. Phasing will depend upon available capacity, as well as a number of other factors that will be. So there could be a phase 3 and 4, depending on how much we can proceed with, how much the market would support as it makes sense for the next phase. So there's the road, that sort of new road that has to be constructed, the rest of a quality drive that will have to go around. So there's probably more than just one more phase after this to bring us up to the total units. And there's no consideration at this time for any red line revision at this point for those as it proceeds. I will respond to the servicing. As I noted, we did, realizing there's an increase in density, we did provide engineering information that supports the stormwater management being able to, and the storm pond being able to account for the additional units. that are going into the pond. As I mentioned, the actual original applications and all the supporting engineering information were for even more units than what the red line revision would take into account. So it's been designed and supported through engineering information. I'm sure will be reviewed by the municipality's engineering department to quantify that, but it has been submitted.
Okay, you may want to stay there at the podium, just if there are more questions. Did you have a supplementary?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just so that I'm clear in my mind. Okay, so we know the single families are under construction and that's a different builder. The townhomes along the highway, those semi-detached units, that's a different builder as well, so not included in any of the 1, 2, 3, or 4 phases possibly of this development that we're speaking of.
That's existing phase 1. So they're proceeding and pulling building permits, still marketing some of the units in that. So that's part of phase 1. Phase 2 is on roads that are, and 3 and 4 are on roads that haven't been constructed yet.
Okay, so these semi-detached units along the highway, those are part of phase 1.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
They're part of the 97 that are already approved, and building permits can be pulled for those now.
Okay, I saw Councillor Greenfield's hand first, so.
So, thanks, Your Worship. Well, comment first. The way I'm looking at this, or part of my interpretation, is the increase of numbers of residential units certainly corresponds to the province's obsession for more housing. So I guess we can use that argument. Townhouses obviously, due to the success of the first phase, are in demand. I would assume they are lower priced than detached homes and more accessible for many more buyers. Now the little maps I have, with the detached homes, it shows in their backyards or their back lawns between them and the green area, the source water management pond and so on and so forth. It shows trees in the backyards. Now, going to townhouses, we're going to have more backyards. Are we looking at, or is it maybe too soon to project, but would we have a tree in every backyard of the townhouses, or 2 or 3 trees would be better? And between the townhouse units, are there any fences or anything in between them, or is it just a wide open lawn space all in behind? Can you help me on that, Rob, or am I getting too far ahead with my questions?
To Your Worship, I know that Suresh is online. I believe he's online, and he might be the best to answer those 2 questions if you can.
Suresh, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Can you jump in here?
I am. I'm watching right now and hearing everybody loud and clear. I'm not sure if you can see me on any screen, but
No,
I'm
we
not so
can't.
pretty that you need to see me. So yes, everybody has their own rear yard. Everybody can build their own fence. We've done developments like this on countless occasions, and most people build their own fence and they share with the cost with their neighbor. And then they usually leave a little space at the back of their lot, so if they can go bring lawnmowers around from the sides. So it's actually a very common townhome layout and design. So there is no issues on that particular basis. I did want to just address a few things that I've heard. The phasing all other phases are townhomes. They are approved to be townhomes, whether they turn into singles or something less dense. Only need and demand will dictate that. The lots we're looking at right now, the 23 being converted to 26. I'm hearing things like, more profitable, levering infrastructure that's already been constructed. The levering of infrastructure that has already been constructed is something that the province is demanding that everybody do. So that is not a negative. If you have infrastructure that's there, you need to utilize it to the maximum possibilities that you can, specifically for housing. Now, someone spoke about us not meeting affordable guidelines with the province. The province has guidelines that are skewed all over the province. It really depends on.
We've lost you. Is he still showing? He probably doesn't realize that we're not picking it up. Suresh, we're not hearing anything from your side.
Oh, how about now?
Yeah, but we've lost the last bit of you began talking about
Affordability?
yes, exactly.
Okay, so on the affordability issue, the province has many different ways of making calculations on that. We are a private developer who is truly, our goal is to create attainable ownership. And we calculate out what incomes in the area are, what neighbors can afford, and folks in the broader community who live and work in Grey County, for example. And all of the 38 townhomes in our first phase were sold for, on average, high 300s. Absolutely, we cannot identify a private development in the province where townhomes with an average size of 1,300 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, full basement, full attached garage, freehold lot is sold for that price. We have been very, very successful with it. Compare that to the builders who have the larger lots that we sold, because that's not the business that we're in. They make way, way, way more dollars than we do. So this is not a profit-driven thing. This is meeting the market and meeting the needs where they are in the community. Of those other lots, which are 67 of them, they have sold a total of 9 homes. Of our 38 townhomes, we've sold a total of 38 townhomes. Now, when you look at these 23 singles being converted to 36 townhomes, and you look at the revenue, 36 townhomes multiplied by what we will sell them for, which would be, I'll round it to 400,000, would be exactly the same total revenue as what we would sell 23 single family homes for. There is no economic benefit to us other than the fact that the land and the homes get sold, and actually families get a place to live, and the municipality gets almost exactly the same amount of development charges whether we build 23 single family homes or 36 townhomes. The numbers are almost identical. So again, we are that now adding to the tax base of the municipality, as well as the incredible need by the municipality for funding of infrastructure going forward, which is going to help everyone in the community. So these are all the things that help when it comes to doing something like what we're making this request to be. It aligns economically with us as a private developer. It aligns economically with the municipality needing to be fiscally responsible and create money for infrastructure. And it aligns perfectly with the people who need homes in the broader area. So those are the things that I really wanted to focus on, because too many people say things that they're really the experience level on these things are very different. We do this for a living. We do it every single day. We have about 1,000 homes of this type under development in the province of Ontario, and every municipality we're in is so supportive because they know we are a key to home ownership within their community. And the very first step, it goes from possible rentals to the first step of ownership. Maybe they take another step in ownership, and certainly it is the key for them. Most people building their family wealth is through home ownership. So I really wanted to drill down on these particular issues. And if you have other questions, obviously I'm right here, and I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Suresh, for the explanation. Ironically, I was at Conservation Ontario meeting this morning, Richmond Hill. This development came up actually, because when I said that there were actually developments being sold in the 3, 4, 5 100,000 range, there were shots. It is very, very advantageous. So, and I realize that this does not meet the burden of actual affordable housing by government or provincial standards, but nobody in Ontario does. So this is the next level of close that anybody is even achieving is really commendable to you. That's a comment. My question is actually regarding the stormwater impact that's been brought up a couple times. So my question is Grace Sobel commenting on that from this regard? Rob might be able to answer that. I don't know, or Suresh, you could. But when it comes to this, again, lean very heavily into their expertise. So I'd like to know whether, obviously, with the county has already weighed in on density. Curious whether Grace Sobel's weighing in on stormwater impact.
I can start, and if Suresh has more to add. So they were involved in the initial design, and as I said, the initial design included more units than we're even asking for this red line. They were circulated with this the application. They're a commenting agency, so I expect if they had concerns that we were increasing, but on something that they wouldn't approve, their opportunities through the circulation process.
And I'm happy to speak if you can hear me.
Yep, we can.
Okay. Yes, we've done all of the quantity and quality calculations on the stormwater, and the stormwater facility that's in place right now will handle the additional stormwater that will be created by this relatively minor change in density. The one thing we all need to understand is the townhome densities. We have a coverage ratio, and they're more or less the same. So the amount of hard surface is going to be relatively similar. It will not be a material change. But even after this is only a zoning issue. Number one, when we are applying for our allocation and for our engineering design, that's when your peer reviewing engineers come in and they look at absolutely all of our storm flow calculations, as well as the capacity of the stormwater facilities. And they recommend any design changes that may or may not be required. And we have to meet those prior to us even moving forward in any way with the completion of that particular development, or any servicing, or any house construction. Those are absolute safeguards that the municipality has, and none of these homes will be built or sold without us meeting those standards.
Okay, any other questions from council? Seeing none, I think that we'll move to close the meeting. I want to thank you for attending and sharing your thoughts on this application. This matter will now be referred back to Development Services and County of Grey staff to follow up on any additional information required from the applicant based on the matters raised today. Once staff are satisfied that they have all necessary information needed to provide a recommendation on the applications, a detailed planning report will be brought back to council to assist us in our decision-making. This report will evaluate how the proposal does or does not satisfy the provincial, county, and municipal policies that must be considered as part of council's decision. It will also explore the various public and agency comments received regarding the application, noting those tools which may be applied in order to address concerns raised and to mitigate potential impacts on nearby properties. If you would like to receive notice of a future decision on this file, please provide your contact information to the Planning Services Division by email at planning@meaford.ca. And with that, I'll declare this evening's meeting adjourned.